Okay, in the last video we looked at the multiplication and division fractions. Next video will be on addition, subtraction of fractions. But before we get to that video, we need to look at this video on finding the LCM. Now the LCM stands for least common multiple or lowest common multiple. And I'm going to go through the procedure for finding it. Given two numbers or more than two numbers. Now if these were denominators, so let's look at the first problem. Let's find the LCM of the given set of numbers. So we're looking at 24 and 15. So if these were the denominators of, say, two fractions, and we're adding or subtracting the two fractions, then we would be finding the LCD, or least common denominator, or lowest common denominator. But for right now, the procedure is the same, whether they ask you to find the LCM or the least common denominator, the procedure is the same. So again, the procedure will be to prime factor each number or denominator, whatever you're working with. So let's look at 24 again. I'll only do one example here because I've done this before. So to find or to prime factor, we divide by the smallest prime, which is 2, and keep dividing until it doesn't go. Well, we get 12. So 2 goes again. So I try 2 again. 2 into 12 is 6. 2 will go into 6 also, so I put down a 2 again. And this gives me 3, and then the smallest prime that goes into 3, 3 being a prime, is 3. So I get this, okay? So basically, 24 then is going to prime factor into 2 times 2 times 2, 3 factors of 2 times 2 times 2, 3 factors of 2, or 2 to the third, and then times the 3, okay? 15 will prime factor into, okay, 2 won't go into 15, but 3 will. That's the next prime to go. It'll go 5 times. Smallest prime that divides 5 is 5, because 5 is a prime. So the prime factorization of 15 is 3 times 5. Okay, so if you're asked to find the LCM or LCD of, say, two numbers, in this case 24 and 15, you're going to prime factor each of the numbers. This is a procedure, okay? So let me clear this. Okay, so here I have 24 prime factored out, 15 prime factored. Okay, so the procedure then for finding the LCM or LCD is to prime factor each number, and then once you've done that, for the LCM, you're going to take each factor that appears in any of the factorizations. So you can see that 2 appears there as a factor, so I put a 2 here. 3 appears there, so I put it here. 5 appears, so I put it there. And the other one has a 3, I've already got it. The other one has a 5, I've already got it. Okay, and then you have to simply look at the powers on each of these. So have a 2 first and go to each factorization and take the largest power that appears on the 2. Well, it's 3. For 3, take the largest power that appears in any of the factorization. This is 3 to the 1, this is 3 to the 1, so the largest is 3 to the 1, or just 3. For the 5, it's 5 to the 1, here 5 to the 1, so this is 5 to the 1, or you can just leave it as 5. And then you simply multiply these numbers out. Okay, so 2 to the third is 8, times 3 is 24, times 5 is 120. So we get 120. That's your lowest or least common multiple. And that simply means that 120 is the smallest number that 24 and 15 would divide. Okay, there's many numbers, okay, infinitely there's an infinite number of numbers that 24 and 15 will divide. But generally, to make the problems easier, especially when you're adding or subtracting fractions, we want the smallest, LCM. Okay, so in this case, it's 120, even though you could use a multiple of 120. 240 would work, okay, but just makes it harder to simplify the problem. Okay, so the answer to this is 120. Now, another way you could do it, I recommend this way because this is a way you're going to do it with the algebra when you get into algebraic expressions. It's not as easy when you have algebraic or variables here instead of numbers. So it's much easier to find the least common multiple when you're dealing with algebra if you do the prime factorization. But in this case, since we're dealing with numbers, you could also do this and simply write out all the multiples of 24. So write down 24 and then add 24 to that, we get 48, add 24 to that, we get 72, add 24 to that, we get 96, add 24 to that, we get 120. And then the same thing with the 15. Okay, keep adding 15, and we want, as soon as we get a number that appears in both sets, okay, so here's 120, and here's 120 right here. Okay, I could keep going, but I want the smallest. Okay, so then I would put again the answer of 120. And you could do it like that also if you're working with numbers. But for algebraic expressions, I would recommend the prime factorization. Okay. Okay, now we have three numbers. Okay, so these could be denominators. Okay, you could have something like 3 over 6, 7 over 8, 1 over 4, and you were adding those fractions. Okay, so we want the least common multiple. Okay, again, if these were denominators, it would be the least common denominator. Okay, so what we're going to do again is prime factor the 6, that's 2 times 3, prime factor the 8, that's 2 to the third, 4 is 2 times 2, or 2 squared, okay, doing the same procedure that I used earlier and in other videos. So then you simply take each factor that appears in any factorization. So the 6 has one factor of 2 in there, then there's also 3, and the 8 has a factor of 2, I already have it there. 4 has a factor of 2, I already have it there. Okay, you got to have all the different base numbers that appear in any factorization. That's the first thing you put down. And then you go back and take the largest power. So for the first one, 6 has a factor here of 2 to the first power, 8 has 2 to the third, 4 has 2 to the second. Okay, so the largest is 3, so I put a 3 right here. And then this 3 appears here only 1, so the largest power is 1, so it's just 3. Okay, and 2 to the third is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. So 24 then should be the smallest, least common multiple, or least common denominator you're dealing with fractions. Okay, that's the smallest number that all of these three will divide. You can see 6 will go into 24 4 times, 8 will go into 24 3 times evenly, 4 will go into 24 6 times, and so on. Okay, so this is the way I would prefer you work this problem, because it'll help you when you get into the algebra. Okay, now we clear this, and then if you want to list the multiples of 6, add 6 again, keep adding 6 and get all the multiples. And then you do the same thing with the 8, add 8, 16, add 8 again, 24 all the way up, you know. And then 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, and so on. So you keep on going until you get a number that appears in all three listings. Okay, so you can see that the 48 is here, 48 is here, 48 is here. Okay, but we want the smallest one. Okay, so So the smallest that appears in all of them is 24. 24 is right here. 24 is right there. And of course it's right here. So that's the answer again. Do it that way. This is 24. Okay, that concludes this video. In the next video, we'll look at addition, subtraction, fractions, and we'll be using this procedure again in finding the least common multiple. In that particular case, we're going to call it the lowest common denominator, or LCD. Thanks for watching.